There is a lie that the world tries to whisper into your ear from the moment you are born. It tells you that power is loud. It tells you that strength is about force, about aggression, about being the biggest, the fastest, and the loudest person in the room. The world tells you that when chaos hits, you must fight it with chaos. But the world is wrong. True power is not a scream. True power is a whisper. True power is the silence in the middle of a hurricane. Let us speak of Elias. Elias was built for speed and built for glory. He was a high-altitude rescue specialist, the kind of man they called when the helicopters couldn't fly and the storms were stripping the paint off the mountainside. He was talented, undeniably so. He had the lungs of a marathon runner and the agility of a panther. But Elias had a flaw, a crack in his foundation that he refused to see. He was reactive. He lived entirely on instinct and adrenaline. His engine only had 2 gears, full throttle and off. For years, his talent saved him. He could outrun his mistakes. He could outmuscle his lack of discipline. But life has a way of balancing the books. Life will eventually put you in a situation where your talent is not enough, where your adrenaline is actually your enemy. For Elias, that day came on the jagged ridges of a peak known as the Sentinel. It was a standard extraction, a group of amateur climbers stuck on a ledge, a storm rolling in faster than predicted. Elias led the team. As the wind howled 70, 80 miles per hour, the radio crackled with static and fear. The leader of the stranded climbers was screaming into the mic, panic bleeding through the transmission. And that panic, like a virus, jumped into Elias. He felt his heart rate spike. The adrenaline flooded his system, but this time it didn't sharpen his focus, it clouded it. He stopped thinking and started reacting. He rushed the rigging. He barked orders without checking the safety lines. He moved with a frantic urgency that he mistook for speed. When the gust hit, 100-mile-per-hour wall of white, Elias wasn't anchored. He wasn't centered. He was moving too fast on unstable ground. He slipped. The line pulled taut, snapping not the rope, but the anchor point he had rushed to set. He fell. It wasn't a fatal fall, but it was 20 feet of brutal contact with granite. He shattered his ankle and dislocated his shoulder, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the sound that followed. The mission was aborted. Another team had to come in from the south face to finish the job. Elias had to be airlifted out, broken, humiliated, and defeated. For 6 months, Elias sat in a chair, his leg in a cast, his arm in a sling. But the real injury was in his mind. He replayed that moment on the ledge 1,000 times a day. He blamed the wind. He blamed the equipment. He blamed the climbers for panicking. He asked the question that weak men ask, "Why is this happening to me?" He was trapped in the victim mentality, drowning in a sea of what-ifs. His friends, the ones he drank with, the ones who loved to complain about the unfairness of life, sat with him. They poured fuel on his fire. "It wasn't your fault, Elias," they'd say. "The weather was impossible. The boss had it out for you." They validated his weakness. They comforted his ego but starved his soul. Elias was spiraling. He was a Ferrari with no steering wheel, spinning out in the mud. Desperate and fearing his career was over, Elias sought out the only person who had ever intimidated him. His name was Elias, a retired climb master who lived 3 hours into the tree line in a cabin that smelled of cedar and wood smoke. Elias was 70 years old, moved like water, and spoke only when necessary. He was a legend not because of how fast he climbed, but because he never ever lost his cool. Elias hobbled up the path, his cast finally off but his limp severe. He found the old man chopping wood. The rhythm was hypnotic. Thwack, breath, thwack, breath. "I need to get my edge back," Elias said, his voice tight with frustration. "I need you to train me. I need to be faster. I need to be stronger so the mountain can't hurt me again." Elias didn't stop chopping. He didn't even look up. "The mountain didn't hurt you, boy. You hurt yourself. You let the storm inside." "It was 100-mile-per-hour wind," Elias shouted, the anger rising instantly. Elias finally stopped. He rested the axe against his leg and looked Elias dead in the eye. "And what was the wind speed inside your head?" Elias froze. "I can't teach you to climb," Elias said. "You already know how to climb. I'm going to teach you how to breathe. Because right now you breathe like a frightened rabbit, and a frightened rabbit makes stupid choices." Thus began the most frustrating month of Elias' life. He expected to run miles with a backpack full of rocks. He expected to hang from cliffs by his fingertips. Instead, Silas made him sit on a wooden stool in the center of the cabin. "Breathe," Silas commanded. 4 seconds in, hold for 4, 4 seconds out, hold for 4. The box breath. It sounded simple. It felt impossible. Elias' mind was a chaotic mess. As he sat there, thoughts attacked him. This is a waste of time. I should be lifting weights. I'm losing my prime years. His heart would race just sitting still. "You are reacting," Silas would say, hitting the table with a stick. "Your mind is drifting. Bring it back. Control the physiology and the psychology will follow." Silas taught him the science. He explained that when the pressure hits the amygdala, the lizard brain screams fight or flight. It dumps cortisol into the blood. It shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that thinks, plans, and solves problems. "When you panic," Silas said, "you are literally lowering your IQ. You are making yourself stupid when you need to be a genius." The breath is the remote control. It resets the nervous system. It tells the brain, I am safe, I am in control. Day after day, inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Then Silas added the stressors. He would make Elias hold a heavy rock while doing complex math problems aloud, all while maintaining the 4-second breath. If Elias' voice shook or if he snapped in frustration, they started over. "There is a gap," Silas whispered one evening as the fire crackled. "Between the stimulus, what happens to you, and your response, what you do about it, there is a gap, a space. Most people don't see it. They feel pain, they scream. They feel fear, they run, they are puppets. But you must live in that gap. That gap is where your freedom lies. That gap is where your power is. The breath widens the gap." Elias began to change. He noticed it first in his hands. They stopped shaking, then in his voice. It became deeper, slower. He stopped hanging out with his old crew, the complainers. He realized their energy was frantic, toxic. They were addicted to drama, and he was training for peace. He realized that you cannot build a skyscraper on a swamp. He had to clear out the mud from his life. He wasn't just rehabbing his ankle, he was rewiring his brain. Winter came early that year. The Sentinel was covered in a sheet of ice thick enough to crush a tank. Elias was cleared for duty, but he was put on a support team, the backup. He accepted it without ego. A year ago, that would have enraged him. Now, he simply nodded. The call came at 2 a.m. A research team had been caught in a whiteout at 14,000 feet. 2 members were hypothermic. They couldn't move. The primary team went up. 2 hours later, the radio went silent. The storm was an electromagnetic nightmare. It was eating signals and spitting out static. The rescue commander turned to Elias. "We need eyes up there. Can you handle it?" Elias didn't smile. He didn't pump his chest. He took a slow inhale. 4 seconds. "I'm ready." He moved up the mountain, not with the frantic speed of his youth, but with a rhythmic, terrifying efficiency. He was a machine. Every step was calculated. When the wind slammed into him, trying to tear him off the wall, he didn't fight it with anger. He leaned into it, accepting the resistance, moving through it. He found the primary team and the researchers huddled in a shallow cave. It was a disaster scene. The team leader, a man named Miller, was hyperventilating. His eyes were wide, saucers of terror. "We're stuck," Miller yelled over the gale. "We can't see the lines. The GPS is dead. We're going to die up here." The panic in the cave was palpable. It was a physical weight. The old Elias would have shouted back. The old Elias would have grabbed Miller and shaken him, matching his intensity. But the new Elias stopped. He stood at the mouth of the cave. He looked at the chaos. He felt the familiar rise of adrenaline, the chemical urge to freak out, stimulus. He paused. The gap, response, eat. Elias closed his eyes for 2 seconds. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. He reset his system. He stepped into the eye of the storm. He knelt down in front of Miller. He didn't shout. He spoke in a voice that was eerily calm, cutting through the wind like a razor blade. "Miller, look at me." Miller blinked, startled by the calmness. "Breathe with me," Elias said. "In, out, do it again." He anchored the room. His composure was contagious. This is the law of thermodynamics applied to leadership. The strongest state of vibration wins. Elias was vibrating at a frequency of absolute certainty. The panic in the room began to dissolve, replaced by focus. "We don't need GPS," Elias said, his voice steady. "I know this rock. I know the texture of it. We are going to rope up. I will take lead. You will watch my boots." Nothing else, just my boots. One step, then another. The descent was brutal. The cold was a physical assault. At one point, a sheet of ice broke loose above them, crashing down inches from Elias' head. The fear spiked, a primal electric jolt. Stop, his mind commanded. Don't dwell on the near miss. That is the past. Focus on the next placement. He didn't think about the warmth of the base camp. He didn't think about the glory of the rescue. He thought about his breath. He thought about the 3 inches of ice in front of his nose. He turned the massive, overwhelming problem, getting down the mountain, into a series of tiny, manageable challenges. Place the axe, kick the crampon, breathe, repeat. They moved like a single organism, tethered by rope and by the sheer will of Elias' focus. When they finally broke through the cloud layer and saw the lights of the outpost below, the team let out a cheer. Miller collapsed in relief, but Elias just stopped. He looked back up at the swirling white hell they had just exited. He realized then that the storm hadn't changed. It was just as violent, just as deadly as it had been the day he fell. The mountain hadn't become kinder. He had changed. The epilogue, the architect of destiny, they sat in the locker room hours later, warming their hands around mugs of coffee. The room was buzzing with stories of the rescue. Everyone was calling Elias a hero. They asked him, "What did you do? How did you move so fast? How did you know where to go?" Elias looked at them. He saw the young climbers, eager, talented, full of fire, just like he used to be. "I didn't move fast," Elias said softly. "I moved deliberately, and I didn't fight the storm. I just stopped letting the storm inside." Listen to me closely. Life is going to test you. This is not a prediction, it is a guarantee. The storm is coming for your finances. It is coming for your marriage. It is coming for your health. It is coming for your career. Most people pray for an easy life. They pray for light winds and clear skies. But you, if you want to be great, if you want to be the one standing when the smoke clears, you must stop praying for the storm to miss you. You must start training your mind to endure it. You wouldn't walk into a boxing ring without training. You wouldn't run a marathon without practice. So why do you walk into the high-stakes arena of life without training your mind? It happens in the quiet moments. It happens in the morning when you choose to meditate instead of scrolling through your phone. It happens when you choose to read and learn instead of watching mindless television. It happens when you choose your friends carefully, cutting out the energy vampires and surrounding yourself with lions who force you to level up. Staying calm is a skill. It is a muscle. And like any muscle, if you do not exercise it, it will atrophy. When the pressure hits, you will not rise to the occasion. That is a Hollywood myth. When the pressure hits, you will sink to the level of your training. If you have not trained your breath, if you have not trained your focus, you will crumble. But if you have done the work, if you have spent time in the quiet room, then when the world catches fire, you will be the water. When everyone else is reacting, you will be responding. When everyone else sees a problem, you will see a challenge. Look at the greats. Look at the icons. They are not frantic. They are still. They have mastered the gap between stimulus and response. So the next time you feel the chest tighten, the next time the anger rises, the next time the fear grips your throat, pause. Take the breath. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. Reclaim your mind. Step into the gap. The storm is outside. Do not let it in. You are the anchor. You are the architect. You are in control. Now go out there and breathe.